Okay, I've seen this question asked a few times on the net, so I thought I'd do a brief tutorial on setting up the Aimtrak light guns for use in Mame. If you first get your light guns, of course you need to calibrate them in Windows first. So on the Windows desktop, you hold the back button in on the gun for about 10 to 12 seconds. The cursor will go to different points on the screen. You aim and shoot the cursor as it's on its different locations, and the gun is calibrated in Windows, and once that is done, you're set to go. It's a pretty easy process, and instructions come with the gun on how to do that step. So then you're going to open up Mame here and go up to the Options menu and scroll down to Default Game Options. We're going to select that, and then we're going to go into the Controller Mapping tab, and we're going to tell Mame what you're using as your light gun. This is the different controllers in Mame. So we're going to go to the light gun device and switch this to light gun. By default, this will be set to mouse in Mame. You want to change that to light gun. Click Apply, and now we're going to go to the Controllers tab and highlight this one. What we're going to do here is you want to check the box that says Off-Screen Shots Reload. Make sure that is checked. But down here, even if you have multiple Aimtrak guns, do not click the multiple mice. Do not check this box. I don't know why. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know why it works this way. It just does. So you do not want that checked. Once that is done, click Apply again and hit OK to close this menu. So now we're going to open up a game here. Can really be any game. It doesn't necessarily have to be a light gun game, but we will. Once the game is open in Mame, press Tab on your keyboard, go to the Input General section, hit Enter, and we're going to go to Player 1 Controls, hit Enter. And this list is a list of all the control devices available in Mame, all of the different variations you could have. So it's a very long list, and the light gun section is actually all the way at the bottom. So if you just hit the up arrow, you'll get there much faster. So we're going to go up here to the light gun X analog axis and define what this is. Now the X axis for the light gun is horizontal movements left to right across the screen. So once you have this highlighted, you go ahead and press Enter. And to do this, you basically hold your gun out, aim it at the screen, and just do a movement, nice and slow and steady, horizontally across the screen. And it should register there. It popped up as showing, my computer picks up my gun as gun 2, so it's showing gun 2 X. And you only want the X axis registered there. If you have any slight movements vertically, any up and down movements at all while you're trying to define this, it will pick it up and register gun Y and gun X on the same axis, and you do not want that. It will not work for you. It'll be a lot of headaches. So make sure that when you're defining these axes, if you're doing the X axis, your gun only shows the X axis here. Same for the Y axis. Y is the vertical up and down movements for the gun. So you want that to show up as gun 2Y only, and it's the same process. You highlight the Y, hit Enter, and you aim the gun at the screen and do a completely vertical movement so it only registers there. And I made a mistake. That is wrong. You do not want this. It will not. Your system will not work. Is obviously here it's showing I'm trying to define the Y axis, and I must have had some left to right movement because it picked it up as the X axis. So I'm going to hit Delete on the keyboard because you want to redefine this. And let me try this again. And you want perfectly vertical movement so it registers the Y. There we go. So this is what you want your setup to look like. Your gun may have a different name depending on what your computer assigns that device to, but you want your gun, whatever number that is, on the X axis, on the X analog control, and you want the Y axis for your gun on the Y analog control. So once this is set up, you'll be ready to play light gun games in Mame. So you can go ahead and load up your quarters there and play all you want. I am going to make one additional comment to this because there were some gun games where the gun was actually mounted on an analog joystick and it wasn't a light gun in the normal sense. Some of these games were Revolution X, Terminator 2, I think Beast Busters may have been one, maybe Aliens 3. But let's scroll down to one of these games here, and I will show you what you need to do to make these work with the Aimtrak guns. So here's Revolution X. I know this was one of these games where the guns were mounted on an analog joystick. So we're going to go to this game, right-click the mouse, and go to the properties. Now this will be defining the properties for this game only, and it will not mess up the rest of your setup with Mame. If you have an analog joystick that you use in other games, this will not interfere with that since it's only going to be defining the controls for this game. So go to the Controller Mapping tab again, and this is, again, the properties only for Revolution X, and go to the 80 stick. This is what the game was registered as an analog controller to the game, and you want to change this to your light gun. So once that is set to light gun, hit apply, and go to OK. So now, when you fire up Revolution X, the game itself will be looking for the analog controller, but Mame will kind of convert that to use the Aimtrak light gun, which we defined and set up. So the Aimtrak light guns are a blast. I was a little hesitant to get them, but I'm really glad I did. There are a lot more gun games than I realized initially, and I've had a blast playing with them, and the dual guns work great. One thing I didn't mention is when you're doing the input general section, if you have two guns, you want to go and do the exact same thing I said for player 1 controls, where you define the X and Y axis for the gun. You basically just do that again for player 2 with the second gun. So there's no difference, exact same thing, just the second gun and the X and Y axis there. Once you're all set up, you will be ready to go and ready to play gun games in Mame and have a blast. It's all good.